There'll be thousands of people out there lining the streets.
Yep,
well,
every year.
Now let's talk a little bit about the Trump transition and the team that's forming inside becoming a part of the team on the inside and outside. And joining us now to help us out, Corey Lewandowski, the former campaign manager and key aide to Donald Trump as he puts together his team. Corey, welcome back.
Good morning.
Hey, thank you so much. Good morning.
Well, Corey, do the attacks in Europe prove that Trump was right? You know, they really don't know who they're letting in some of these countries.
Well, I think that's exactly right. And what Donald Trump talked about in this campaign and what he's talked about now as the president-elect is if we're going to bring people into our country, we're going to have a thorough process to make sure we know where they're coming from and what their intentions are. I think that's the role of the president, to make sure that his people are protected both internationally and domestically. That's what he's talked about, and he's been proven right in this regard. We don't know who's coming into these countries. We don't know what their intentions are. We need to do a better job of protecting our people.
Corey, who did he, if you do know, who did he speak to before he came out with his statement yesterday? And we're about to hear it, but who did he consult with first? Because I saw when he was speaking, General Mike Flynn was in the backdrop. Who else was he talking to?
Yeah, General Flynn was there with him. Steve Bannon, his senior advisor to the White House, Reince Priebus was there. Other members of his core team were there. So, you know, as you know, he is down in Florida right now. It's been widely reported. Most of his senior staff is down there with him right now, making sure that he's continuing to get the briefings that he needs and running the day-to-day operation of the president-elect.
Corey, one of the criticisms of President Obama was when a terror attack happened somewhere in the world or even here in America, he didn't come right out and talk about it. Donald Trump's not even president yet, and he was talking about it down at Mar-a-Lago. This is the sound that Brian was talking about. But I want the folks at home to listen to what some of the reporters are saying. They're trying to egg him on and trying to suggest that this is something that all Muslims are doing. And Donald Trump did not take the bait. Listen to this.
What's going on is correct. Has it caused you to rethink or reevaluate your plans to create a Muslim register or ban Muslim immigration in the United States?
Hey, you know my plans all along, and I've been proven to be right, 100% correct. What's happening is disgraceful.
Have you talked to President Obama at all, sir?
I have not. 2 days ago, but not recently. Not since.
Your comments about the truck attack in Berlin being against Christians, do you think that this might...
Say it again, what?
The attack in Berlin being against an attack against Christians?
Well, who said that? When was that said?
I believe he said it in a press release. So I'm wondering how this might affect relations with Muslims.
An attack on humanity. That's what it is. It's an attack on humanity. And it's got to be stopped.
So what's your reaction to that?
I think he's exactly right. It is a tragedy on humanity. And, you know, this isn't about any one thing, but it's about making sure that people around the world are safe to congregate where they want to be. And you know, Donald Trump's priorities have been, when he was a candidate for office and now that he's the president-elect of the United States, to make sure that the people of the United States are safe. And what he has said was he will make sure that we will have extreme vetting so that we can prevent terrorists to the best of our ability of coming into the country and perpetrating jihad.
Sure. Right. You know, yesterday Newt Gingrich came out and said one of the terms that Donald Trump really is known for is saying the term "drain the swamp." The crowd went wild when he said it in getting elected, and still says it today. He says that the word that Newt Gingrich got from inside the camp, which you would know, was that they don't want to use that term anymore, that he's not going to say it. And if you look at some of the left are saying they're looking at some of the people in his cabinet, and it doesn't reflect it. Where does drain the swamp stack up on things to adhere to in the Trump camp?
Look, I think if you had to put them in a chronological order, drain the swamp is probably somewhere down the bottom, as opposed to getting tax reform done, making sure middle-class people have more jobs, making sure we're renegotiating our bad trade deals, ensuring that we're fixing Obamacare, repairing and replacing that, or replacing that and putting in something new. I think at the end of the day, it's about the economy. It's about creating jobs. It's about fixing the bad trade deals. So draining the swamp is a larger narrative, but what it's really about is putting people back to work. We cannot continue to have a 1% growth rate in this country and think we're going to be a global powerhouse anymore. We need to grow the economy. What Donald Trump is saying, and what you saw yesterday, was him meeting with the CEO of Boeing Corporation, saying we're not going to spend $4 billion on an airplane. And Boeing Corporation has come out and said, we agree with you. We can do it for less. He's not even the president yet, and he's already renegotiating our deals that were bad deals before he got into office. That's what the people elected him to do. That's what he's going to do.
I don't think people knew he was going to take such meticulous personal attention to particular deals. And in this case, you know, people sitting out there, whether it's the Boeing deal or the Carrier deal, they go, yeah, hope he keeps doing that. Now, Corey, you're up in New Hampshire right now, where you're from, where your family is, to celebrate your Christmas. But I understand in a couple of weeks, maybe a couple of days after Christmas, you are moving down to Washington and you're opening up a new business, a consulting firm. I was reading some of the mainstream media today. They're making the case you're becoming part of the swamp.
Well, you know, I love the mainstream media. They've been so good to me this election cycle. Why would they want to get it right for the first time?
Right.
Look, it's amazing, right?
Tell us about your consulting firm.
If I open a small business, I'm a bad guy. If I go inside the administration, I'm a bad guy. If I'm unemployed, I'm a statistic. So, you know, you can't win with the mainstream media sometimes. You know what it's about? I think there's a giant malaise inside the federal government. A number of businesses don't know who to talk to get an answer. And what Donald Trump says he's going to do is he's going to streamline the government. He's going to reduce the size of government. He's going to reduce the burden on small businesses. And if I can be helpful in some regard of doing two things. One, making sure his agenda moves forward. And if that means from the outside and coordinating activities so that his agenda of tax cuts and small business tax breaks moves forward through Congress, I want to be part of that in any way I can. The second part is, if I can be a resource to corporations who want to get a fast answer from the government and not a long maybe, I think that's a value add that I can potentially provide. So, look, that's what the goal is here. The goal isn't to go and become a swamp creature or to become a lobbyist. I'm not going to be a lobbyist. It's not going to happen. What I am going to do is make sure that Donald Trump's agenda is put forth, and those people in Congress and across the country who have supporting him have the resources they need to make his agenda a success.
Corey, is this a plan B for you? Is plan A getting inside, and when you weren't named, this is your plan B?
No, look, as you guys know, I have a great relationship with the President-elect Trump, and it's been a privilege to be part of his team for a long time. You know, and if I wanted to go inside, I had the opportunity to do that. But, you know, for me and what I think is best for his opportunity to be successful in Washington and how I can be part of that, my opportunity is on the outside. My opportunity is coordinating those outside interest groups to make sure that a Supreme Court nominee that he chooses goes through, to make sure that his cabinet secretaries go through, to make sure that his tax cuts go through, to make sure Congress is understanding that the people out in the American public voted for Donald Trump because they want fundamental and wholesale change. And if I can be a resource for those people to make sure Congress understands that, that's what I want to be able to do.
Right. Corey Lewandowski, President-elect Donald Trump's first campaign manager. We thank you very much.
Thanks, Corey. We have a Fox News alert to tell you about. Thank you. Kellyanne Conway just given an official title in the Trump administration. She has been named counselor to the president, and she's going to join us live in 20 minutes. And, of course, we'll ask her about it.
So she's going to be going to Washington, and she's going to be on the inside. It's a tough decision for her with young children to pick up and move.
She said some of these private schools there, they're not being very welcoming to the Trump administration. So
yeah, which is
so we'll have her in 20 minutes. Yeah. She's going to be on the inside. She'll have an office in the West Wing, and she'll be with us shortly. Meanwhile, it is exactly because the person I'm about to read about is sitting right here. Kellyanne Conway, just given an official title in the Trump administration. She has just been named counselor to the president. So what does that mean?
Well, that means I'm going to the West Wing to continue my service to President-elect Donald Trump and Vice President-elect Mike Pence, and I'm very excited.
How did you decide to do this? You could have gone to Washington and opened up this huge consulting firm, made a lot of money because you're very successful with getting him elected. How did you decide to go for the White House instead?
Thank you. It's a great question, Ainsley, because I did weigh a number of different factors, including my children. But I know this will be a very family-friendly West Wing and White House. I've seen the President-elect with his own children and grandchildren. I know many of his female employees over a number of decades and years at the Trump Corporation. So I'm fine on that score. And I think that when you have this opportunity, it's an honor, certainly, but it's also very humbling, the gravity and the responsibility of serving at a senior level for the President of the United States. It's difficult to pass that up. And I know I've got his ear and his trust. I think those are the two main criteria. And I very much respect the rest of the senior team that you've seen in action already.
If we were to picture what your job would be like, who has served at the White House in the position that you're going to be holding?
The actual title has been held by someone like Karen Hughes to George W. Bush. This was the title that Ed Meese had with Ronald Reagan. But I think everybody just fits into their titles and their roles the way that particular president and that senior team sees most appropriate and most helpful.
What about
that, of course, is what I'll do here. I mean, you've got Steve Bannon and Reince Priebus and hopefully Jared Kushner, Gary Cohn. You've got folks very close to the president already president-elect already who have been doing unbelievable things during this transition. So I'm there to support them.
What about your little ones?
They're excited. You know, Ainsley, when you're a pollster and you have 75% agreement on anything, you're really excited. When you're a mother, 100% agreement would be fantastic.
But
so
you didn't get it.
Are you getting that?
I'm getting there. Well, I have a holdout. One of the ones, my 12-year-old daughter, who reminds me a lot of me, and she started an online petition on keep the Conway kids from moving to Washington.
What?
So she's got a little bit of Yes, it is.
Conway kids from moving to
Yes,
Washington?
and she has over 200 some signatures. Her twin brother reminded me the other night at dinner. We went to see Hamilton, then we went to dinner, and he said, sure, you have over 200 signatures, but one is your friend Maya's dog, so it doesn't count.
Right.
But I appreciate her moxie. I think she'll love being there, but we'll figure that out as
She'll
a
still
family.
keep her friends here.
Sure.
Hold on, you went to Hamilton. How did they treat you?
Oh, it was, look, real America is here right now.
That's right.
So I was treated very nicely. I obliged the selfie seekers, and we just tried to slip in and out.
You know, congratulations on the new job. You are, you know, you're historic because you were the first woman to get a guy, anybody, elected president of the United States. If you were a Democrat, you'd be on the cover of all the magazines. You would be a hero. They'd be talking about the legendary Kellyanne Conway. And yet, because you're a Republican, you got the job done, and many laud you. But at the same time, is there disappointment that there's such a double standard?
Well, I think there'd be disappointment. There's a double standard. I feel like on the Trump team we are treated differently, but I don't want him treated differently.
Right.
My main thing is not about glory for me. I've had plenty of it. The thing for me is that Donald Trump and Mike Pence be treated the way presidents and vice presidents are treated, that you get people to come along and realize that this is a country that we share. I know it's a divided country, but he won, and that's the thing that I would wish for more than anything else. The prestige, the glory, we all feel a piece of it. I get a ton of credit for what was an amazing team, a tight, small, scrappy, entrepreneurial
You won.
team.
You ran the team that won.
And it's just amazing. But there's no substitute for a quality candidate, Steve. I really believe that. Hillary Clinton found that out. We found that out with Donald Trump, certainly. There's no substitute for a quality candidate. He's a master connector, master communicator. It made all the difference.
And I know you say you're probably not going to be doing as much media when you're in the White House, at least originally, as we're used to having access, but we'll see how that goes. You never know, because we don't see much of Valerie Jarrett, yet we know she has huge influence, and that's the person who's been working with you most. Can we talk about actual issues? One of which is the terror, which is not going away, the Orlando San Bernardino. No one has to remind you of that. Then we see Berlin, and we remember Nice. And this is what we constantly hear. We know how Donald Trump feels about terror needs to be addressed. We don't know what his policies are. How is he going to attack this insidious disease, this cancer within so many Western cultures, which is the Salafist Muslim extremists? What's the policy?
So if you even go on our website right now, what he said this summer is still there because it's still his vision in this regard. Let me just highlight it for you, Brian. First of all, Donald Trump has made very clear that we need better vetting policies in these countries that train, harbor, and export terrorists. And now Germany is up there with Italy and Belgium, certainly, and France, and may I say the United States of America, in terms of succumbing to these awful random terrorist attacks that are inspired by ISIS, if not brought out by ISIS. And so he's talked about better vetting, and people just, they get crazy about it. They say, oh my God, he can't do that. Well, why not? If you know that there's reasonable cause, as we say here, then why would we continue to just look the other way when we know that these countries are on the rise? The other thing is just look at the statistics. He's trying to get back to where we were before ISIS became more powerful, which has happened in the last couple of years. The vacuum that was created by the terrible way we came out of Iraq has allowed them to flourish and do their bidding and their bloodletting. So, and I think also just having a president of the United States and a commander-in-chief who says we will work with allies. We'll actually work with people we usually don't work with if it means they'll come together to try to defeat radical Islamic terrorism. You first have to be willing to name it, to defeat it. And I would remind everyone, because we saw it as a very important inflection point, at Hillary Clinton's convention in Philadelphia in July, she referred to radical Islamic terrorists as, quote, our determined enemies.
Right.
She wouldn't even call them terrorists, let alone radical Islamic, or just tell us who it is. You can't defeat them until you name them. And he at least is willing to do that.
How about Boeing? Let's talk about that for a minute, because to replace the Air Force One fleet, it was going to cost $4 billion, according to the CEO of Boeing.
For 2 planes.
Right. President-elect says, absolutely not. That's too much money for the taxpayer to pay. We're canceling that order. He tweeted about this. He met with the CEO yesterday down at Mar-a-Lago, and they both came out.
Yes.
And they talked about it. And now the CEO is saying, all right, I'm going to make the price a lot cheaper.
Well, this is the Donald Trump effect, as I call it, very plain and simple. He wants that particular project to be a classic Trump project, which is ahead of schedule and under budget. And in this regard, I've talked to him about it privately. He's talked about it publicly, and it's the same. He just says, look, we want people to make money. We want them to earn what's fair, and we certainly want a quality product, but does it need to cost this? That's what every president and his team should be asking on behalf of the taxpayers. Yes, we need it, or yes, we want it, but are we paying too much for it? It's a classic question that taxpayers ask every single day about the federal government.
Kellyanne, we've never had a chief executive running the country who's actually gotten involved in government procurement contracts, and Trump says, look, it's part of the job, saving people money.
No, he definitely believes that. He ran on that, and he won on that, Steve. So expect more of that, where he looks at himself as the protector of the people. This is the people's president, and he's going to look out for
money, and that's what they appreciate.
Money. He's going to look out for their personal liberties and their pocketbooks.
And it seems like he's curious about meeting with these CEOs
and
musicians and Democrats. And right.
Yes, I mean we can't even keep up with the request to have time with the president-elect. But it's not people that are just there for a photo op. They literally want to go and have a discussion about the issues that they've been working on for years, and in this case, the business and the industry that they're doing day by day. And we welcome that completely. I mean, this is a guy, just like you saw in the campaign. He was willing to go to 5 or 7 states a day, especially towards the end. So the scheduling was easy. I didn't have to choose between Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Minnesota. It's like, all of the above. We'll do them all. Right. Let's just throw Virginia and Florida in there today for good measure. And he was willing to do that. It's the same thing with this transition schedule, where he's working so incredibly hard so you can fit in these extra meetings with captains of industry, with other elected officials, with people who will or will not serve in the cabinet. It's why he's met with over 100 of them.
What's been the hardest part from what you've noticed about the nominee who got the nomination, from the person who had the nomination to become president? Now you watch the president-elect during the transition period. What do you think he has adapted to the quickest? What do you think he's adapted to the slowest, because it's brand new to him the first time?
He's adapted most quickly, Brian, to just the gravity and responsibility of the job that I mentioned previously, even at the staff level, that you just see the enormity of it. I mean, he is ready to be president. It's not just being presidential, it's being the president. It's being a decisive leader and somebody who surrounds himself with people he can trust. I mean, his cabinet has been lauded as very conservative, as a collection of serious men and women who have achieved great things in the private sector, in the public sector. And he also, I think, adapting to these intelligence briefings where he's the one receiving them. He's the one receiving the PDB, the Presidential Daily Briefing. That refers to a specific product.
He got it yesterday.
And, of course, he gets that. He got it yesterday, as we all know. But in addition to that, he's just taken the counsel of so many different people in that arena, because he has promised to keep us all safe. So I think that, I would say.
And the only thing, the biggest challenge for him, do you think?
I look at it as a challenge because it would be a challenge for any human being, but it doesn't seem to be for him, which is just the sheer capacity. How does he fit in all these meetings? How does he? And I saw this weekend at Mar-a-Lago and in the environs that people are still stopping him, and they want to talk to him, they want to touch him, and they want to take pictures with him, and they want to speak with him, and he's so incredibly gracious. He's so incredibly gracious to everyone who seeks to do that. I have not always seen that with publicly elected officials, not always seen that with, quote, celebrities and popular people. And this is who he is. Folks will continue to feel like he is there for the people, that this is the forgotten man, forgotten woman, economically and otherwise, but it's also just somebody who did this for all the right reasons, is trying to embrace everybody at the same time.
Brings hope to people who have not had a voice.
Sure.
Yes.
Any timetable on Secretary of Agriculture and the VA guy?
Coming soon.
This week?
I thought it was going to be before Christmas, no?
Well, it could be, but the only thing that's happened with both of those is the list has actually expanded, not contracted, where just this week he met with additional candidates for those spots and has been incredibly impressed. I'm incredibly impressed just looking at the diversity of people with whom he speaks, their backgrounds, their vision, their plans, And this isn't just a I pick you and not them. It's a huge learning process, and he's weighing consequences and options. And
Steve, just so you know, I'm just going to cut to it. He was future Farmers of America president.
I was.
And is he out of the running for Secretary of Agriculture?
Well, his main competition apparently is me, because I worked on a blueberry farm for 8 summers.
Look at that!
So he had a title, I had a job with my hands.
I raised rabbits and pigs.
Absolutely.
Just saying. Now, you don't know this at home, but for the last 10 minutes, Kellyanne's been sitting here, and right behind you is your iPhone, and about every 15 seconds, ever since you were named counselor to the President of the United States, there's a new text message.
And I never looked at it one
Bing.
time.
Not one time.
Those are probably just my kids. Mom, wear my sneakers.
Right.
I'll get to that.
How's the poll going?
Exactly. How's
Keep
the
the
poll
Conway kids at home.
We're getting somewhere between 75 and 100%, right?
Of course, we're just a couple of days away from Christmas. How would you like to stick around? And we're going to have a contest to see who can wrap a package the fastest.
Oh, you win. I can stick one in a gift bag like nobody's business.
Let's come on over here.
No,
Take
I'm
part in it.
so...
Kellyanne's going to help us. We're going to show you how to wrap a gift so that it looks like it's done professionally or by a...
And what does Kellyanne get Donald Trump, who's got everything?
Got everything.
Well, with 1 week and a half left in 2016, it is time to look back at the most mortifying moments in media this year. Here to help us out is senior editor of The Federalist, Molly Hemingway. Good morning to you, Molly.
Great to be here with you.
Good to see you again. All right, let's go back and look at how the mainstream media handled, first of all, this election. They all said they predicted that Hillary was going to win. Listen to this.
It might be a wake-up call to those Republicans who have existed in this little thought bubble of their own that this isn't a winning form of politics.
You know, we could be talking landslide.
Hillary Clinton today is more likely to win in a landslide that would not only have an impact on this race, but realign the country.
That would translate to an electoral majority and probably electoral landslide for Hillary.
This could be tight, or it could be a landslide for Hillary.
Oh, we heard landslide 4 times.
This was so much worse than Dewey defeats Truman, that headline that people always point to showing how media get things wrong. This was the entire election, months of the media shouting at us that Hillary Clinton was going to win. And in that cacophony of voices, they never listened to what American people actually had to say. It was a huge embarrassment to the media.
Remember this one? Remember Samantha Bee, the comedian and TV host? She was reacting to the election results saying Trump won because of white people. Listen to this.
In the coming days, people will be looking for someone to blame: the pollsters, the strident feminists, the Democratic Party, a vengeful God. But once you dust for fingerprints, it's pretty clear who ruined America: white people.
All right, what's your reaction to that?
Yeah, this was the year the media really seemed to buy into this hard left idea that white people are responsible for all of the world's problems. And when you group together and generalize and disparage about 2/3 of the population, you don't just get factually dubious assertions. It's more than a little bit racist.
Also in 2016, Fidel Castro passes away or dies, and then the mainstream media praises him. This is a man who is a killer. Listen to this.
I'm quite certain that they're not celebrating his death in Cuba.
Even Castro's critics praise his advances in healthcare and in education.
Considered even to this day the George Washington of his country.
He was a romantic figure when he came into power. We American young high school kids and kids in those days rooted like mad for the guy.
Molly, what's your reaction?
Yeah, you had not just the media, but many political leaders, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, Jesse Jackson, even the White House's own statement, treating Fidel Castro like he was good to his people. And what that shows us is that Western media has largely adopted communist propaganda to explain Fidel Castro and his treatment of the people, rather than tens of thousands of eyewitness accounts about how Fidel Castro is a homicidal tyrant. And that's really unforgivable.
All right, Molly, remember this, the Orlando shooting. Remember when the mainstream media refused to call it terror? Listen.
We're not getting to the core issue, which is how easy it is to get a gun. I mean, Florida happens to have the largest gun-owning population in the country and some of the most lax laws.
Clearly, there's a place today in this dialogue for us to talk about the tone and temperament of our national leaders.
And if we just understand that all of the hateful thoughts become hateful words, become hateful actions.
Molly?
Yeah, ISIS is committing terror attacks on domestic soil, and our media are spinning it as some referendum on Second Amendment rights. That's fake news.
All right, Molly Hemingway, thank you so much. Good to see you.
Arrived apparently 2 days after the attack. On top of all that, breaking this morning, Fox News confirming 2 Americans were hurt when that suspect plowed into the Berlin Christmas market on Monday night. One of those victims, as far as we know, still in the hospital. Now, as we come back live here in Times Square, I mentioned this Christmas pop-up market that's behind me. I mean, it looks great. It's not open yet. It's early this morning, but a great place to come around the holidays with your family. They're selling ornaments for the tree and the like. But in this day and age, guys, this is another area that they need to secure. As we've been here this morning, we've seen some heavily armed members of the NYPD's Joint Terrorism Task Force just patrolling around that pop-up market. So that's the type of thing we're dealing with.
Yeah, sure. Now, Connell, right now, obviously, I mean, you're at the crossroads of the world, and we can see in the background traffic. But come New Year's Eve, they're going to turn off the traffic. They're going to bring in Jersey barriers. You're not going to be able to get a truck or a car anywhere near there, right?
Exactly right, and that's one of the new twists this year. It's always tough to get in here, Steve. You know, I mean, they are always checking people's bags, and you can't get in and out after a certain time on New Year's Eve. But because of what we've seen overseas, certainly in Berlin and before that in Nice, there's an added concern about cars and trucks, and that'll be something they're paying very, very close attention to this year.
Absolutely, and we just know too that you can still have these terrorists dropping bombs, like we saw about a month or two ago on 23rd and 27th Street, and we caught him in New Jersey. Thanks, Connell. Appreciate it.
Thank you. It's so bizarre to see like Christmas markets here in New York, and then you see police officers standing outside of them where you see
with
machine guns and people inside shopping for Christmas presents.
As you'll see tomorrow with Cardinal Dolan, he said one of the saddest things that really bothers him, but he understands it, is when he gives Christmas Mass, there's a SWAT team inside St. Patrick's.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, you were in St. Patrick's with the Cardinal yesterday, and he talked a little bit, you asked him a little bit about what was happening over there.
Did, and I asked him about, you can't just talk about Christmas, the Christmas season, and giving gifts. I talked to him about Christians, and they are under attack, and, should leaders like yourself be saying more, and the Pope? And do you want to hear what he had to say?
We're going to hear right now.
Does your heart especially break for the Christians who are being killed because they're Christians, and the iconic structures that are being destroyed because they're Christian? That's what's happening in the Middle East?
Our Jewish leaders are powerful, Brian. They say, when are you Christians going to start speaking up? We Jews learn the hard way. It ain't going to go away. Right. You have got to be forceful. You cannot let up. You've got to be an advocate for them. And they're reminding us that we have to be much more aggressive in defending the rights of Christians.
And he's absolutely right about that. Your entire celebrity stroll with the Cardinal is going to be on our program.
Inside and out. At St. Patrick's, I never got a tour like I got there. There's a place behind the altar that I never thought we could go, but that's where we had to find the Cardinal. So
tomorrow we'll have the whole, you'll give us the tour inside, right? And walking on the street with
the Cardinal, the most popular man in New York.
Well, he made a good point. He said we have to be more aggressive on this, and that's why people went to the polls to vote for Donald Trump, because the economy and national security were the two big issues for our voters. And he wants to secure the borders. He wants to make sure we're vetting the people that are coming here into this country, because what happened in Berlin, he's trying to prevent what happened in Berlin from happening here in the U.S., because that guy, it turns out, was seeking asylum, was coming from another country.
But they didn't have the correct paperwork, and that's been Trump's whole point all along, is these people, these migrants in Europe and elsewhere, you just don't have proper documentation. That's why Germany didn't deport him, because he didn't have the right stuff. That didn't show up until 2 days after he killed all those people. Here's Donald Trump. He met the press, a skeptical press, who obviously trying to pin him down in that Muslim registry and whatnot, as you're about to hear, on the steps of Mar-a-Lago yesterday afternoon.
What's going on this Friday?
Has it caused you to rethink or reevaluate your plans to create a Muslim register or ban Muslim immigration in the United States?
Hey, you know my plans all along. I've been proven to be right. 100% correct. What's happening is disgraceful.
Are you talking to President Obama at all, sir?
Not. 2 days ago, but not recently. Not since.
Your comments about the truck attack in Berlin being against Christians, do you think that this might...
Say it again, what?
The attack in Berlin being an attack against Christians?
Well, who said that? When was that said?
I believe you said it in a press release.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering how this might affect relations with Muslims.
It's an attack on humanity. That's what it is. It's an attack on humanity. And it's got to be stopped.
Now I know why Karl Rove said last night it was refreshing to see Donald Trump address it quickly and concisely, exactly what's going on. That's what George W. Bush did. And if you want to know how successful it was in uniting the country, some on the other side accused him of ginning up threats that weren't there because his ratings would go up and the country would rally around him. We had for 8 years a president had a different philosophy. You may like it. They said, no big deal, we'll handle it, we'll do the investigation. It's more dangerous to drive your car or walk on the sidewalk. Don't overreact. We have this thing under control. And I think Donald Trump gives you the sense that, if something happens, at least I'm doing everything I can to make sure it doesn't.
Yeah, that was back in the day when you could go into Times Square and you'd have to worry about a bomb. I am not the type of person that's an alarmist by any stretch of the imagination. Now when I go to a sporting event or I go into Times Square on New Year's Eve, I'm thinking about that. Times have changed, and we do have to get aggressive on this.
You mean because we had a Times Square bomber?
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
exactly.
No, because there are people who want to kill us. And it is refreshing that Donald Trump, when it's Islamic terror, he labels it as such. That's why he won.
And at least he's talking. President Obama hasn't even said anything about the Berlin attack. This guy's not even in office yet, and he's talking about it.
Keep in mind, when he was running against Mitt Romney, he said, look, you don't have to worry about terror. I got it licked. And then, of course, the Benghazi thing happened, and they completely spun that thing, and it was terror. Anyway, Trump won, and one of the reasons he did win is the fact that he said he's going to keep us safe. Somebody who was at his side the whole time, at the back half of the campaign, was Kellyanne Conway, who in the last hour was named counselor to the President of the United States. We just had her here on the couch. What's she going to do? Listen.
Well, that means I'm going to the West Wing to continue my service to President-elect Donald Trump and Vice President-elect Mike Pence, and I'm very excited. I think that when you have this opportunity, it's an honor, certainly, but it's also very humbling, the gravity and the responsibility of serving at a senior level for the President of the United States. It's difficult to pass that up, and I know I've got his ear and his trust. I think those are the two main criteria, and I very much respect the rest of the senior team that you've seen in action already.
She knows him. She also knows messaging, and she also understands, puts her ear to the ground to find out what the people think because of Kelly Polls and what she's done. I'll add this. I remember when Karen Hughes was so valuable to George W. Bush when he was governor, and then became president. After a real short time, she says, I have to spend some time with my family. She left. A lot of people think the messaging and communications never recovered. That's the role that she'll be playing, and that's why, with her not being in the White House, maybe Donald Trump would have really suffered.
Yeah, we have to remember, when she came on board, his campaign turned around. I think she brought a softer, I guess, feeling or edge to the campaign.
She's focused on his strengths.
That's right. We asked her on the Curvy Couch just a little while ago what her kids think, and she said one of her twins, she has a twin son and a twin daughter, and they're 11 or 12. The daughter has a petition online and is getting all of her friends to sign it. Keep the Conway kids here in New Jersey.
But they're moving to Washington, D.C.
The son has his bags packed, she said. They're next to the door already.
That's right. So in the last 90 minutes, we had Donald Trump's original campaign manager on, Corey Lewandowski, who is also going to go down to Washington. He's opening a consulting firm just to, help. And he was talking a little bit about how he was going to make it more easy for small businesses to get their
He'll
story
make a lot
told.
of money because they got this guy elected.
And then you've got his last campaign manager, Kellyanne Conway, who's actually going to be not too far down the West Wing hall from the president-elect once he's president.
Her daughter will thank her one day.
Absolutely. It's hard not to.
You can't turn that up.
Meanwhile, Jackie Ibanez has been following the
market terrorist, a Tunisian man in his 20s, still on the run. This is a suspect. And despite no arrest, the global refugee crisis has the world on edge. Meanwhile, here at home, as refugee resettlement hits a record high, Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker appeals to the president in a letter saying, we would like our state to have a broader role in determining how many refugees and from which countries until we are comfortable with the vetting process that is being utilized to screen these individuals. But will Donald Trump be able to make this happen? Here to weigh in is the Texas Attorney General, Ken Paxton, joining us today from the beautiful city of Dallas. Good morning to you, Mr. Attorney General.
Good morning. Thanks for having. Good morning to you. Thanks for having me on.
Okay, so the way it works is the federal government just pretty much puts them wherever they want to without talking to the states, right?
That's absolutely true. We actually in Texas sued the federal government trying to stop it. We were unsuccessful because federal law controls this issue, and now We've been stuck in this program with no control over who's coming to our state, and we don't know anything about them as they come.
That's right. Now, Mr. Attorney General, of course, the President of the United States made it very clear he would like to have 110,000 refugees come into the country in this current year. And he's actually a little ahead of that. I think it's, it's just a little north of 110,000. What is your biggest worry about some of these refugees?
You know, our biggest worry is we don't know anything about them. And if you look at what's going on in Europe, we're concerned that the same situation in Europe is going to happen here.
Right.
If you think about it, what would be the best way for a terrorist to get into this country? It's through this type of program where we literally know nothing about these people.
Yeah.
And James Comey admitted when he testified in front of Congress that we can query our databases until the cows come home, and yet we don't know anything about these people because they're not in our databases.
That's right. We had yesterday on the program Dr. James Mitchell talking about Khalid Sheikh Mohammed. What he said is the easiest way to take over the world. Listen to this.
He said that like-minded jihadi brothers would immigrate to Western democracies and to the United States. They would wrap themselves in our civil liberties for protection. They would support themselves in our welfare systems while they spread their jihadi message. And then, when the time was right, they would rise up and attack.
Well, that's all scary stuff. And to your point, you don't have any idea who these people are. But the other thing, Mr. Attorney General, is the fact that when the federal government drops these refugees in different states, for instance, Texas, who's on the hook for paying a lot of the social services bills? The state of Texas and the taxpayers there.
That's absolutely true. Obviously, we're on the hook. This is one of the reasons that our governor is we're pulling out of the refugee program as of the end of January. Unfortunately, that doesn't stop these people from coming in, but we don't want to put our stamp of approval on a program that we feel like puts our citizens at great risk.
Do you think Donald Trump's going to fix this problem?
You know what? I really do. I'm encouraged. I'm hopeful. Given what he talked about in the campaign, I think he cares about this issue, and he's certainly not afraid to address it, unlike our current president.
All right. Ken Paxton, the Attorney General of the great state of Texas. Sir, thank you very much.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you. All right. Straight ahead, Harry Reid finally coming clean about bashing Mitt Romney. Remember when he told the lie about Romney in 2012?
There's no brazen lies. I did what was necessary.
He did what was necessary to get Barack Obama reelected. Shouldn't Democrats consider that fake news, too?
Oh, my gosh, Brian, thank you. All right, so you finally found your dream home. The only problem? There's a little thing called an HOA, Homeowners Association fee. So what exactly are they, and how can you make sure that your money isn't going to waste? Fox News legal analyst Bob Massey, the host of The Property Man, joins us now to break it all down. Hey, I'm sorry, I'm distracted because Brian's trying to get in my shot. Brian, do you want to take over here?
I need to get my folder.
You needed this folder. Sorry, Bob.
Yeah.
All right, Bob, we've gotten a lot of we've gotten a lot of questions from folks at home that want to know more about the Homeowners Association. This first question says, what is the reserve fund and how does it work?
Well, anytime you're part of an HOA, Homeowners Association, all of us put money in, and the money's there specifically to take care of the common area, maintain the streets, the landscaping, things like that. That reserve account, Ainsley, is supposed to be there to make sure that there's enough money and that it's managed properly for purposes of make sure that all these things are, in fact, met. So it's important to understand that you have the right to look into this account and understand how the money's being used as a homeowner.
So what is the most common problem with the reserve funds, Bob?
Well, what I've seen over the past several years is sometimes you have mismanagement, misappropriation of monies that the HOA board uses. This HOA board is a group of people that live in the neighborhood. There are homeowners there, and many of them are very qualified people, so a lot of them do a good job. But there's some that don't do the right kind of job. There's some that overuse the money, or more importantly, they're not able to see what the next 5 years in development is for that community. So the reserve fund gets too low. And when it gets too low, then you and I as homeowners, Ainsley, get assessed a certain amount of money. We have the right to say, wait, let me see this. I want to see where the money's gone. I want to see how it's being managed. Because why am I being assessed when we've been paying enough money? So you have to be sort of careful with how the money's being used.
Yeah, it's your money. You should be able to see how it's being used. Can you request that? Can you request the budget or the finances?
Before you buy into any development, You have the right to get the information, these what we call the CC&Rs, the covenants, conditions, and restrictions, the bylaws of the community. You're allowed to ask for the budget, the financials, because you want to know, number one, is there any construction defect cases that are pending? Are there any assessments that are going to be made? Are they a solvent community? These are questions that you and I, as prospective homeowners and homeowners that are there, have the right to ask that board or management company. Most boards have management companies. You have the right to get that information before you buy. So be proactive as a homeowner. Have the right to ask questions. Do it in a very civil fashion. You don't have to become acrimonious. But you have the right to say, if I'm putting my money in, is it being used correctly?
Good information. All right. Thanks so much, Bob. Great to see you. Merry Christmas, and thanks for sending gifts to all of us.
Merry Christmas, Ainsley. God bless you and to all the family. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. You can catch The Property Man, I should say, on Saturdays and Sundays. It comes on at 3 o'clock Eastern Time, right here on the Fox News Channel.
How long is that thing they're writing at the other end?
Right. And then they stop writing, and you never get a message.
Right. Who are you talking to specifically? Is it?
Brian.
I mean, don't you think there's one person in mind that you're talking to?
Have you ever done that, though? Gone to throw something away, and you look, and then the trash bag's tied up?
And what do? Jam it in the side.
No, you'd have to pull it out. It's like
who tied the trash bag?
That's what he was saying. He said that's annoying.
My family does this very unique thing. They will leave the garbage by the door, and nobody brings it to the pail except me, because I guess I'm the man.
Because you're the man.
That's the message.
Yeah,
The garbage is right there.
Right.
Take it out.
Take it out.
What
That's what I'm good
what
for.
about the toilet paper or the paper towels? Do you leave the cardboard?
No, if there's no toilet paper, use another bathroom.
Right. It's like,
right? I don't want to fix it. I got a lot of stuff to do.
It's like the message when you buy for Christmas, and I know she's not watching right now, you're buying your wife a new set of cookware.
Right.
Really, the message is, honey, I love you, but make me some supper.
How about this? Make anything. All right, I did it again. How dare you do that? Why do you do that all the time?
Oh, man.
You know.
Yeah, if you're a man and you're listening, do not buy pots, pans, do not buy a vacuum cleaner, do not buy a blender, no exercise
do
equipment.
not buy anything with an electrical plug-in on it.
Buy something with diamonds.
Okay, there you go.
Right.
Because they're forever.
You know what women want? They want drones. Get them a drone.
Women do not want drones.
They don't want
Jackie,
drones?
women do not want drones, do they?
Absolutely not at all. My husband wants a drone, and I refuse to get it. It's just one of those things.
It's the battle of the sexes.
They'll play with it for like 2 weeks, and it goes in the cupboard, and you never see it again.
Or they'll get a Hellfire missile and start shooting the neighbors.
Yeah,
True.
Who wants that? I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
So I got a job to do. All right, well, I'm going to take over from here, the headlines. Thank you very much. Well, get in while the getting's good, folks. That's the call from Mexico's ambassador to the U.S., urging millions of immigrants to apply for U.S. citizenship before President-elect Trump takes office. Officials claiming it could be a good legal defense if Mr. Trump changes immigration laws. There are more than 11 million illegal immigrants currently living here in the United States right now. Harry Reid admitting to playing dirty politics. Talking to KNPR Radio in Las Vegas, the former Democratic leader says he did what was necessary back when he falsely claimed former GOP nominee Mitt Romney hadn't paid his taxes. Remember this?
There's no brazen lies. I did what was necessary.
Unbelievable. Romney did release evidence he fully paid his taxes going back more than 20 years. And terrifying moments as a FedEx driver clinging to the side of his carjacked van. Look at that. An armed suspect climbed inside while the worker was making a delivery in Glendale, Arizona. The driver refusing to give up the van full of Christmas presents. He was finally forced after a second suspect pulled up in a white car and pointed a gun at him. The thieves stealing everything inside before abandoning the vehicle, and they are still on the run. So if you're in Glendale, Arizona, well, your packages might be a little late, I'm guessing. And a family struggling to make ends meet. This is sweet. After a terrible accident nearly claimed the life of their 4-year-old, just given an unbelievable Christmas surprise. Santa, accompanied by police officers in Largo, Maryland, coming together to surprise the family with presents and a $5,000 check. But guys, that wasn't the end of it.
Here's the keys to your new car.
Oh my God. I've never had a new car.
Oh, they're so sweet. I have chills. They thought they were just being treated to dinner, but they got a lot more. And those gifts were mostly donated by hero officers themselves. I love stories like that, guys. It's about what you're giving, not what you're getting, Brian.
I thought I'd call you.
Whoa.
I thought I'd call you out. Everyone's calling you out. I thought it was a cool thing to do.
Right, I guess you can't go wrong.
I'm trying to join the morning
You can't
show.
go wrong. No, I mean, I do believe giving is more important than receiving, so that's a good thing. And now, after spending a day with the Cardinal, I really get it now.
That's
the
good.
whole Bible thing's making total sense.
It's the reason for the season.
Exactly.
All right, and the interview with the Cardinal will be tomorrow, right here on Fox and Friends. Meanwhile, you can't have Christmas decorations without trees, decorations, and butter.
Yeah, well, you know that is exactly how Paula Dean cooks when she's at her house.
All right, we sent out Janice Dean. Is it true when we send you to see Paula Dean, she brought the butter?
Oh, yeah, there was lots of butter flowing everywhere.
You went inside her house, right?
Oh, my gosh, you should see her house
Beautiful.
in Savannah, Georgia. So, you know, she was here a couple of weeks ago, and her and I got, you know,
well, you're a couple of Deans.
Like a house on fire. Got on like a house on fire. And, you know, we just have the same type of personality. So the wonderful producers here decided, let's send Janice down to Georgia, where I got a real taste of how Paula Dean and her family spend their Christmas. Take a look. Here I am, Savannah, Georgia, Paula Dean's house for Christmas. Oh, my gosh.
Who's here, boys and girls?
Oh, my God,
Who's here?
look at you. I didn't even call you. We look like sisters.
I want to show you how we celebrate Christmas down here in the South.
I love it. Let's get to it. Tell me how you decorate this gorgeous house of yours. I mean, let's start with the tree, first of all. This is an unbelievable tree. We've got Mr. Peacock up here.
I love unexpected things. We decorate with oyster shells a lot. Look at this.
I didn't even
Turtle shells. We love, love, love turtle shells.
Now, do you have any Christmas traditions that you carry out?
We've got our wrapping room set up in the theater. I started doing the Salvation Army. I go and I get 5 to 6 families that's not going to have Christmas.
That's what it's all
Usually
about.
around 20 children. That's what it's all about. You know, we have everything that we need. And
You're not supposed to make me cry, Paula Dean.
the thought of a child waking up on Christmas morning and not having anything, that just makes me so sad.
Yeah.
So I do what I can. Well, I want to take you on a tour of the house. We all,
the weather machine.
Oh, my gosh, look who's
we all
here.
go in wearing goofy
Bobby.
hats.
Cousin Janice.
I'm looking at the family photos here, and
You
there's
all look
one
well
person
behaved.
missing.
No, it's not.
Oh, I'm just kidding.
Oh, there.
Oh, that's so cute.
This is my second favorite room in the house. This is my bathroom.
I love you even more, Paula Dean. This would be my favorite room of the whole place.
Listen, I
you
love
even
it.
have a Christmas tree.
This is like mine
Oh my
and
gosh.
Michael's little living room, so, you know, we have to have a Christmas tree in here. You want to see my first favorite room?
Yes, let's
Okay.
do it. Look at this kitchen. I mean, it's Paula Dean's kitchen, so it's got to be spectacular. But you film your show in here, right?
I do. I have a show called Positively Paula, and it's all done right here.
We're getting into Christmas.
Yes.
You need to show me a Christmas dessert that
All right.
will make my family sing.
I love the old-timey divinity icing coconut cake. You cannot make divinity icing or meringue when it's raining outside. There's too much humidity in the air.
I'm here, so I control the weather.
You control the weather.
So this divinity icing is going to be the best darn divinity icing you've ever had.
I got a cup and a half of sugar. I want Jamie to come in.
Jamie
All right.
Dean! Jamie!
He finally showed up.
Hello, cousin Jamie Dean!
Are we cousins?
And he was a little boy. Y'all, he came into the kitchen. He said, Mama, what are you doing? I said, I'm making Jesus' birthday cake. He said, well, Mama, if that cake is good enough for Jesus, it's good enough for me. That'll be my favorite cake, too.
Oh, that's a great story.
Hey! Got a cake ready? Janice, come on over here, baby.
All right.
All right, so look at here, y'all. We have made divinity icing, and it is raining outside.
Oh, yeah! That is a piece of art. That's what heaven tastes like, right there. That is one good piece of cake.
Welcome to the family, cousin.
Oh my gosh, I'm part of Paula Dean's family. It's official, Fox and Friends.
So Janice Dean, he just called you cousin. Are you related to
She
Paula
thinks
Dean?
somehow we are. It has to do with stealing of horses or dogs back in the day. Yeah,
Why
and
wouldn't it?
somebody had D-E-E-N and I had D-E-A-N. So yes, I believe we are sister cousins from another family.
cousins.
You're on the Dean's list.
And you can find Paula's recipe for the icing and the cake on foxandfriends.com.
How about that bathroom?
Oh, I could live in that bathroom. A fireplace. She has a place for the Christmas tree. She has couches. Wow. I mean, I could have camped out for weeks.
And the bathtub right in the middle of it all.
Bathtub right in the middle. I would have taken a bath there if they asked me to.
All right, on that note.
That was great. It was great to see where she lived.
I love her, and she actually invited my whole family there, so that's where we're going for Christmas.
I don't blame you. Just camp out in the bathroom.
That's right.
And he could. All right, thank you, JD.
Thanks for letting me do it.
That's great.
Fun.
All right, President Obama once bragged about using his pen and his phone, so does he think President-elect Trump should follow his example?
Going through the legislative process is always better, in part because it's harder to undo.
Do as I say, but not as I do. Judge Alex rules on that next.
And this time last year, we heard from our office these amazing voices outside the Fox and Friends studio.
Last-ditch effort to the president, by the president, to save his legacy. Here to weigh in is former Dade County Circuit Judge Alex Ferreira. Judge Alex, what's he doing there?
Probably that. I mean, a lot of things that you remember, he said he wasn't getting cooperation from Congress, and he had a phone and a pen, and he did a lot of things that he knew could be undone. But I think he felt pretty confident that Hillary was going to win, and it was not going to be undone. But things didn't work out the way he expected. And he is right. It's much better to do things by legislation. The irony, I mean, the rich irony, is that right after he gave that advice and said, "Don't do this by executive order," he went and signed another executive order banning oil drilling in the Arctic Circle, which whether you agree or disagree with that order, it's still kind of ironic to give that advice and run out and sign another one. And
Right.
one that he's trying to make permanent.
Number one, a guy that likes to come in and has to be told to reel it back as the CEO of the Trump company. He's used to making all the decisions. So to tell him not to use executive orders is to be deaf, dumb, and blind for the last 8 years. But this permanent drilling ban that he just passed in the Arctic and in portions of the Atlantic, he believes is tied to some 1953 legislation that would actually stop Trump from drilling.
Yes, yes. The White House's position is that it's tied to some legislation that does not have an out clause, in which case he believes it's permanent. It cannot be undone by Trump. The Republicans vow that he's wrong, that it's been done before, and they say they're gonna fight it and remove it. But there are a lot of things that Trump could do immediately, and that he has vowed to do immediately. First of all, NAFTA. He can undo NAFTA completely. The Trans-Pacific Partnership is dead. That's dead. That's not going anywhere.
Because it wasn't going to pass. It wasn't going to pass through legislation anyway.
No. And immigration, as far as immigration is concerned, he could completely ban people from Syria from coming to the country. He could limit the number of immigrants that can come into the country. He can undo the deal with Cuba. He can undo the deal with Iran, although we kind of have given them all the money. But he could undo that deal as well. There are executive orders relating to schools and transgender students and things like that were very contentious. He could undo that. There's a lot of things.
With the threat of losing the Senate, they've already lost the Senate, but if they get over 60, he does whatever he wants. He might as well have executive orders if he gets his party to go in line. With knowing that the Democrats are going to have a hard time keeping him from 60, that might push them to actually get legislation and do this the way it's supposed to be, because I don't think America really loves the executive order thing.
No, I don't. Frankly, it gets us very close to a monarchy. I mean, I think that
it creates so much bitterness.
Yes, it does, and contentiousness. And you'll remember that not just with executive orders. Look at the things that Reid did as far as using the nuclear option, which now has gross implications.
Which means just give me a majority, don't give me 60.
Exactly. Where things used to have to be done by a 2/3 vote, and now some of those regarding now the cabinet appointments, they just need a majority because Reid opened that door.
Judge, it's just unbelievable that he would actually say that for his advice and of all the things.
Do it.
All right, Judge, thanks so much. Always great to see you in person.
Great to see you too.
You're welcome.